Welcome everyone, it's Haz here, and I know what you're thinking, a day 1 tier list, how accurate can that be? But thanks to Airship Syndicate and Digital Extremes, me and a couple other creators had the chance to play the game for a few days a week before launch, where I spent a good 30 hours doing as much research as I could in order to release as many guides to you all as possible in the first few days of the game, and there's quite a few more coming. Now this video isn't about which character is the strongest, but instead, since in games like Wayfinder your primary goal is to unlock as much content as possible and reach a higher level to farm more efficiently and then unlock other characters, it is a tier list for potential leveling and farming speed if you're playing solo to unlock everything as fast as possible. I will include all the characters available in the game, not just the starting 3, in case some of you might want to purchase the others, but with that said, let's start. Our first but last spot on this list is Senja. I personally think Senja is the most unique character in the whole game currently, and I just love her design. So I'm a bit sad to put her in the last place, but I'd say I have a good reason for it, and it's that I think Senja is primarily designed to be played in parties. Don't get me wrong, Senja is perfectly capable of playing the game solo and beat everything the game has, but her unique Wayfinder ability, crowd favorite, is designed around the idea of you channeling abilities for a couple of bonus seconds in order to reach your maximum potential or even to give buffs to everyone around you. And so when you're playing alone, technically it's a giant waste of time, while in a party you're taunting enemies and buffing everyone at the same time. Even if you don't bother using the taunt ability that much that buffs everyone and you only use your punch ability while playing alone, I think you'll be building up your crowd favorite passive too slowly and you just can't reach your maximum potential as fast as you'd like, and then you'll just perform slower than the others. So I would say Senja is a bit slower than the rest of the characters simply by design of having channeling abilities that are primarily supportive in function. But I'd like to stress again, this doesn't mean Senja is bad, I just simply think she will be one of the slower Wayfinders to progress fast in the game. In the end, I always recommend you to just play the one you like the most. Next on our list is our Templar Vingrave. Vingrave is an excellent sustain character, and as I mentioned in my character selection guides, he's a fantastic first character to choose simply because he has so many abilities to heal himself or to completely negate damage that in case you're not an experienced action RPG player or you need a bit more time to learn mechanics, Vingrave will allow you to safely learn the game and give you all the defense you need. So in case you're a bit more inexperienced, Vingrave might bring you better results than the others, but if you feel you don't need all that support, unfortunately you come to realize that 2 out of 4 abilities of yours are basically defensive abilities, with your ultimate not doing any damage, and when it comes to speed that isn't exactly good, which is why Vingrave is also lower on our list. So my recommendation is if you want a chill experience getting into Wayfinder, Vingrave is a fantastic choice, but if you're comfortable with mechanics and learning, then it might be better to choose someone else for speed. The Wayfinder in the middle of the pack for me is Silo, and depending on patches, this might change a bit later. Silo is actually a very offensive character that starts with a rifle even, which are in my experience one of the better weapon type in the game for progression or just in general even. So Silo would have everything theoretically to be really high on this leveling tier list, but unfortunately, in my experience, he is very inconsistent with his damaging abilities. Silo's first 2 abilities are Grenades, Firebomb and Oil Bomb, and these 2 abilities even have a combo effect with each other for excellent damage output, but in my experience, even with my best attempts at perfecting it, the bombs can be very wonky and around half the time they don't exactly blow up where I want them to, or they just straight up fly through some of the flying enemies and not hit anything. So my reasoning I put Silo relatively lower is simply that I found his abilities a bit unreliable, very strong but unreliable, then you obviously just fall behind other characters who don't have any such issues with their toolkits or they don't have to aim. Next on the list is Venomous, and keep in mind I think unlocking Venomous is a great choice for everyone, even if you want to play someone else, because their signature burst rifle is an extremely strong weapon of choice for any of the characters if you want fast progression. Venomous is a fantastic character when it comes to design because you have both damage and healing in such a seamless way and from the same source that it's just really fun to play her. Her poison mechanic that places dots on enemies or leave poison clouds in the ground deal tons of damage, especially if you stack multiple of them under enemies, and I had some bonkers results in the close test. While at the same time I never needed healing because your abilities are both damaging and healing with no strictly healing or defensive ones like let's say Vingrave, but all of them are also very simple to use compared to Silo. In my experience, Venomous might be perhaps the best carry Wayfinder even, since like I said she is capable of both very good healing and damage with the very same build of prioritizing ability power, where you can easily turn around boss fights if you play well. So Venomous is high on the list for the ability to have reliable and strong abilities that damage and heal at the same time, but also because her starting weapon is possibly one of the best weapons in the game on launch. The next two Wayfinders share the same spot on the list, and I guess it's not too surprising, but it's the two Arcanist archetype Wayfinders, Nis and Kairos, but also Heroic Kairos in case you're an Exalted Founder, and while they don't have healing abilities, I found that you don't really need healing unless you get to dangerous mutated dungeons later. If I had to choose between the two, I would perhaps rank Kairos a little bit lower compared to Nis, but in my experience these two Wayfinders were by far the fastest and smoothest experience in the tests for me, and it wasn't even close. Now if we start with Kairos, what makes him extremely potent when it comes to leveling is that most of his abilities are AoE damaging skills, one of which you can recharge multiple times with your passive, and your Gloom dungeons where most of the gameplay is happening are in majority large room battles with hordes of enemies. Kairos is the typical character where you can just stack all your enemies close to you and unleash all your abilities to see giant explosion of damage clearing the whole room without having to bother chasing enemies and running around the room. In fact, a lot of the fights and waves will also have very weak monsters in them, where Kairos can use his ability Siphon Radiant, which has a massive range that I found can just one-shot all the weaklings, and it's a huge time save. But all in all, every single ability of his has an area effect, with his ultimate being a giant area explosion, so he is possibly the best character in the game to clear a room fast and efficiently. And with that said, then we arrive to my number one Wayfinder of this list, which is Nis, and this shouldn't be too big of a surprise if you know her kit. Nis is also a damage pack Wayfinder with all her abilities dealing a lot of damage, but she lacks the area damage that Kairos has, so why did I rank her higher then? The main reason is the existence of Shadow Step, and in any game where there's a character with a unique long-range dodge ability, they are likely going to be placed high on a leveling tier list, but apart from just the obvious advantage of faster traversal with her that saves a lot of walking time, Shadow Step is actually also your main damaging ability, and it's capable of clearing rooms very fast if you're good at lining up enemies to damage all of them with a single blink. I personally had a blast building her with ability power and see hordes of enemies melt as I blink through them, and next to Shadow Step, the rest of her kit are also very powerful single target abilities with piercing properties that help a lot beating armored enemies or fighting bosses. Finally, if you decide to stay with dual blades and you're good with them, dual blades are the only weapon type in the game that can build up their combo multiplier to 300% instead of the normal 200%, allowing you to deal 3 times the damage you would normally do, which is a massive boost but not easy to maintain. So in my experience, Nis is going to have the best advantage in finishing the story and unlocking everything fast, as blinking really saves a lot of traveling time, and you have the perfect kit to finish dungeons fast, while also having really good survivability with Shadow Step or Vengeful Shade. But that is my launch solo leveling tier list, everyone. Please remember, this list's primary objective is to finish the story and level up as fast as possible in order to start progressing towards other characters and grinding, and by no means is indicative of character power or late game speed, since there will be so much customization that can be done that it's impossible to tell right now how Wayfinder power is going to look like, and 30 hours was certainly not enough for me to test everything either, despite the devs giving us everything. But happy launch day, everyone. Hope this video helped you if you're a player who likes to rush towards endgame and progression, and if you just watched it out of curiosity, I hope you enjoyed some bonus insight into the different characters and their gameplay. As I mentioned at the start, there's tons of guides already prepared and scheduled. I'm releasing every few hours, so if you don't want to miss them, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Thank you for watching, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you the next time.